Get your reactions ready. The live portion of the show will begin in just a moment. It is Wednesday, July 26th, and it's Game 2 between the Yankees and the Mets. Carlos Rodon was back in the Bronx after showing the Yankee fans some love his last time out. My recap, your reactions coming up next. This is NYY Recaps.
Welcome to Yankee Stadium.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. This may have been the final game before the Yankees activate Aaron Judge, and he makes his much anticipated return. We are now less than 1 week out from the trade deadline, and apparently the Yankees are still somewhat undecided as to how they're going to approach the deadline this year, whether they're going to be buyers, whether they're going to be sellers, whether they're going to do a mixture of both. Ken Rosenthal said he doesn't think the Yankees are going to do anything major, thinks they'll go out and get a left fielder. Usually Cashman has pulled the trigger on something by now, but with the day off tomorrow and the Orioles waiting in the wings, don't be surprised if Cashman goes for some reinforcements tomorrow. We will find out soon. I'm going to have a trade deadline preview show tomorrow night, and if anything happens, we will talk about it. Going to be airing around 9 o'clock. I'll be live with Scott Braun of Foul Territory, and we will talk about what the Yankees should do, whether they will buy or sell, and so forth, who could be a good addition. In the chat, tell me about your favorite trade deadline moves of all time. I have a few favorites. I love talking about this time of year, so we'll bring it up throughout the night. And mods, keep it going. Let's get those stories in. For me, Cecil Fielder comes to mind. Yankees were going for it in 96, kind of going all in. Also, big fan of seeing Ichiro come to the Yankees in 2012. I was always a huge Ichiro fan, and seeing him come to the Yankees was just a ton of fun. Doug Rowell says, can we trade for somebody to teach base running basics, please?
Baba Booey.
Also, Alfonso Soriano, second time through, was a ton of fun. Anyway, I'm sure you guys will have lots of great stories, so we'll talk about them as the show goes on. So tonight was a big game for the Yankees and for Carlos Rodon, for sure. Rodon, this was essentially a make-or-break game for how the fans are going to treat him, because he got off to a slow start, and given what happened in Anaheim last time out, blowing a kiss at the fans who were giving him a hard time, I'm not going to lie, it was a very big start for him in terms of how the fans were going to react to him going forward. Were they going to boo him? If he had a bad night, they were absolutely going to boo him. Absolutely. There might have been a smattering of boos in the beginning as well, not many, but if he had gotten roughed up, it would have rained boos, because this fan base, the crowd, has been suffering lately. And if the Yankees were getting swept by the Mets and Rodon was throwing some gas on the fire, I tell you, it would not have been pretty. But he came out looking pissed off from the very beginning. I tweeted it 2 pitches into the game. The look on his face was that he was not messing around. He was there to give his best effort tonight, and he did a great job. Struck out the first 2 hitters of the game, and his stuff was positively filthy. Fastball was up around 97 at times. Slider had a ton of break. He was throwing it down and away to lefties. He was throwing it down and into righties. He dropped it for a strike a couple of times. So he was using both of those pitches very effectively. I think the command of the fastball could have been better. He likes to pitch at the top of the zone and try and get guys to swing through the fastball. He gets pretty good spin rate on that. And when he's up at the top of the zone, it just doesn't seem to drop, and so guys swing right under it. So that's what he was going for. But tonight he was missing up high. And I would rather, if somebody's pitching at the top of the zone, that they miss high and walk a few guys rather than miss low and give up home runs. So, hey, got to credit him for bouncing back tonight. First Yankees win. Yankees actually came out swinging in the first. They had first and third with nobody out in the bottom of the first. Line drive single from IKF to lead off the game. And then Gleyber Torres extended his hitting streak to 15 games. Career high. Nice job from him. But Giancarlo Stanton struck out, and Rizzo banged into a double play to end the inning. Hit it hard, right back up the middle, but it got snared, and Lindor just made a nice, easy toss to first base. Those guys collectively had a tough night. Stanton was 0 for 4. Rizzo was 0 for 4. Although it doesn't look like either of them... Oh, no, Stanton struck out one time, and Rizzo did not strike out. So at least they put the ball in play tonight. Yankees, again, just 6 hits, and that's pretty much standard for the Yankees. 5 or 6 hits, even in the games where they win. I think priority number 1 at the deadline, somebody who can wrap a few more hits. just hit some line drives in the gap. Yankees got on the board in the bottom of the second. RBI fielder's choice by Oswald Peraza. Jonathan Chatton says, I didn't realize Rodon really only uses 2 pitches. That's very true. He's essentially a 2-pitch pitcher. That can be dangerous, though, because if he loses a little bit off that fastball, and especially with a chronic back injury, you worry about that, then he becomes a lot more hittable. But the slider was very sharp tonight, sharpest we've seen it since he's come back. So Isaiah Kiner-Falefa followed up, made it 2-0 with a sacrifice fly. Outstanding slide by Harrison Bader at home plate. Bader had a very good night tonight. Line drives all over the place. He was 3 for 4 on the night and also had his 7th double. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Harrison Bader over the next week or so. The Yankees are probably trying to decide right now if they're in this thing or not. And if they're out of it, it makes sense to deal him because you can get something for him and he's a free agent. Given his playoff performance last year, people know he's clutch. Clutch is not going to be the problem. He's healthy right now. If the Yankees do decide to deal him and miss the playoffs, essentially you can just re-sign him if you want him. But if you hang on to him and miss the playoffs and then don't re-sign him, I think it's a bad move. So they're faced with kind of a tough decision on Harrison Bader. I think if they do trade Bader, I think it's a shoo-in that they're going to go out and get Bellinger because Bellinger can fill in center field and then you can re-sign him. And he just kind of makes your team a little bit more left-handed. Later on in the second inning, Gleyber Torres just missed a 3-run home run caught up against the wall.
Oh, there goes gravity.
Mets got a run back in the third, sac fly by Brandon Nimmo, only run they got on the night. Yankees got right back after it in the bottom of the fourth. Bader singled, advanced on an error, and then Anthony Volpe singled him in. Nice base running by Volpe to take second. You know, Volpe, I could talk about Volpe for ages, man. He's fun to watch. I realize the numbers aren't great. He was ice cold, then red hot, then ice cold, and now the last few days, I think he's starting to heat up again. You're seeing some more hard contact, seeing him use right field more. I think that's something that Sean Casey is going to stress with him. Drive that ball right over the second baseman's head. There are a ton of hits out there. Just ask Derek Jeter. He's young enough in his career that he can take advantage of Yankee Stadium and doesn't have to throw away years and years and years of strategy. He can form his strategy right now. Go up there, look for the ball outside, react inside if they come inside, and hook it. That's where the closed stance helped because you don't hook it foul. But just make your primary objective to hit the ball to right field, and he'll be very, very effective. Alex Valerio says Volpe is a second baseman. That may very well be the case at some point. Peraza played second tonight, and he made an error, but we all know that Peraza is an outstanding defensive player. Great arm. I've been so much more impressed with Peraza's arm than I was last year. Maybe going from third, he's had to put a little bit extra on it, but I've been very impressed with Peraza's arm. I think it's kind of a waste of his arm to be at second base, to be completely honest with you. Whereas Anthony Volpe, the weakest part of his game is really his arm. We saw a play last night where he did a great job to stab the ball, but couldn't get enough on the throw to get the out. So I think that there's a real opportunity to switch those guys and have an elite second base and shortstop combination. But the Yankees probably don't want to do that because of the Volpe, hometown kid playing shortstop thing, first round draft pick. I get it. I get it. I just think that if you're, are you in the marketing business or are you in the winning baseball games business? I would go with the best possible lineup. Now, Gleyber Torres has been playing second base right now, so it's kind of a moot point. But whenever Gleyber Torres leaves, and that could be within the next week, probably not, but whenever he leaves, you might see that switch. Although, to be fair, Peraza's not really hitting 173. Anyway, Rodon was done after 5 2/3 innings. He gave up 4 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Something that David Cohn noted tonight and talked about a lot on the broadcast was the life on Rodon's fastball. When he's in midseason form, that's what you're going to get from him. A lot of giddy up on those fastballs, and then the devastating slider. We talked about the velocity, 97. I thought it was good, and he needed it to avoid the wrath of the fans. Peralta was great tonight. Tommy Kahnle threw a scoreless inning tonight. And Clay Holmes slammed the door in the 9th without any heart attacks. And the Yankees split the series.
Ball game over. Yankees win. Yankees win.
Doug says, if the Yankees trade for Bellinger, do you think they can sign him to a multi-year deal if he opts out? He has an MVP to his resume, but he's also had awful seasons. I think working with Sean Casey would be good for Bellinger. Bellinger's a smart hitter. He's done it in the past. Casey is probably a good enough analyst from working at the MLB network to analyze his swing and see what's different and what's better now and sort of keep him on that path. Also, I think just playing in Yankee Stadium will be good for his numbers because you don't have to get all of it to hit a home run in Yankee Stadium. I think his power will go up and way up. And he makes contact. His strikeout rate is down. If they just keep doing what you're doing right now, I think he'll be fine. I would sign him to a multi-year extension if he comes to the Yankees. He will opt out, I'm pretty sure of it, because he wants to test the market. He's going to get a big contract. But I would much rather give a big contract to a left-handed hitter like Bellinger, who's still relatively young, than Bader, who's right-handed and, despite his elite defense, has been injured quite a lot with the Yankees. Belt tonight has to go to my man who got his first win as a Yankee, Mr. Carlos Rodon. Tell you how this season has gone for Rodon. That is his first belt of the season. I didn't even have a belt picture for him. I had to make one around the 7th inning. I was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? So, anyway, Yankees got 3 runs tonight, but it ended up being enough. You would like to see them put on a little bit more of a display, but hey, you'll take the win. Day off tomorrow. They get to hang around New York and feel good about it. Jonathan says we got to give Peraza some time. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Hey.
Let's take a look at the highlights together while I tell you about the Game Time app. The Game Time app is the sponsor of the NYY Recaps post-game show and all the podcasts on our channel and on our podcast RSS feed. They are the best app to get last-minute tickets to all of your events, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, soccer. They have music, they have theater, and it is no hassle. You can view your seats and the view from your seats on your phone. And if you use the code NYY Recaps, you will get $20 off. If you're using the app, you got to enter the code in the settings. There's like a redeem code spot. Just enter the code right there, and you will get $20 off your first purchase. Thank you so much to the Game Time app. Doug says lefty with top buttons of the jersey undone, getting David Wells flashback. Yeah, that was great. Rodon is very old school like that. I miss David Wells. He was just a guy who, he wore his Babe Ruth hat that he paid $125,000 for at an auction on the field. He pitched in it. It was well, I guess you can't say priceless because it had a price, but one day it might be a priceless artifact. And he pitched with it and sweated in it like an idiot. I mean, come on, you're going to ruin the value of this thing. Although, I guess, he is David Wells, and the fact that he ended up throwing a perfect game and so forth, maybe that does raise the value. Now you got a hat worn by both Babe Ruth and David Wells. So, I don't know. I'd be interested to see if he still has it. Tommy Higgs says, who is going down when Judge comes back? That's an interesting question. It might actually be Peraza. You hate to say it because the kid has been, treated so roughly. I don't know if they'll send down Allen. I think it might be Peraza, unfortunately. We'll see. I guess we'll find out on Friday. It might be a moot point because, as I said, tomorrow is the perfect day to pull the trigger on a deal because whoever you get can travel and not miss a game. And you got the Orioles coming up this weekend. Now it's sort of like, hey, at least it's not at Yankee Stadium, right? I mean, somebody coming in as a trade and having to play in front of a packed house against the Orioles and so forth, that would be very difficult. But on the road, no big deal. I remember when the Yankees traded for David Cone. And by the way, send your favorite trade stories. When the Yankees traded for David Cone, I believe he opened up on the road. Cecil Fielder, too, I believe. I remember Cecil Fielder hit his first home run in Kansas City, way up in the fountains, and Susan Waldman was doing the broadcast back then on TV, and she goes, that's why they got him! That's why they got him! Jones P says, don't you think that Rodon needs a more balanced pitch mix? I am not a professional pitching coach. He has a number of those, and they have decided that fastball and hard slider is the way to go for him. You would love it if he had a changeup or a third pitch because as he gets older and that fastball loses some velocity, it's going to become more hittable. But I see no reason that he can't lean on Andy Pettitte to learn how to throw Andy's cutter and to learn how to pitch backwards and just become a crafty lefty. I think there's every opportunity for him to develop into a different type of pitcher as he ages. But with that comes, as you said, a better pitch mix. He doesn't need it yet, I don't think, because we're seeing, like, with the high fastball there, the hard slider there, the hard slider down and in right there, he's got nasty stuff, and he can change speeds on the breaking ball. And when the fastball's really going, you just can't hit it at the top of the zone. So I would love to see him use something a little bit slower once in a while, maybe a curveball, maybe a changeup, but you don't have to throw it that often, especially if it gets hit. You can just kind of mix it in once in a while and, keep it in the back of the mind of the hitters. CWE says he needs a sinker. A sinker. Well, we'll see. He might not need any of this stuff for a while. Ian says David Justice was a quality trade, and that was amidst the rumors of getting Sosa or Rodriguez. David Justice was amazing. I don't remember the Yankees being involved in the Rodriguez talks. I do remember Sammy Sosa talks. I was actually kind of disappointed they didn't get Sosa. That was probably a good thing, though. I think he was kind of near the end. I'm not looking at his stats right now. He might have had one or two big years after that, but in Baltimore, let's see. Sammy Sosa. I'm going to get his baseball reference numbers. I remember that was, around 2001 or so. Why can't I find Sammy Sosa baseball stats? Baseball reference. Let's pull it up. Let's take a look, shall we? And then we can, if you want, take a look at the box score as well. Get the Sammy Sosa numbers. So that was probably, 2001 with Chicago. He ended up staying in Chicago for a few more years. Hit 64 home runs that year, 49 the next year, 40, 35. I remember when he went to Baltimore, everybody said, oh, he's going to hit so many home runs in Baltimore, but it really didn't happen. Same story with Albert Bell. After Albert Bell went to Baltimore, his career really fell off. That was somebody that the Yankees actually met with as a free agent, and they almost brought him in. Let's take a look. That must have been 1998 that they met with him. Yeah, 98 with after he left Chicago. He was coming off a year in which he hit 328, 49 home runs, 152 RBI. Somehow finished 8th in the MVP voting. The writers didn't like him. He was kind of a jerk. But 99 and 2000 with Baltimore, I remember that everybody said he was going to put up unbelievable numbers in Baltimore. This is before they moved the fences back, obviously, and it just didn't happen. He had a degenerative hip injury. So it'll be interesting to see who goes down. As somebody has mentioned, Oswaldo Cabrera is already in AAA. So, CWE says, let's talk about IKF becoming useful. IKF has done a decent job. Recently. Doug says, there was talk of the Yankees getting Juan Gonzalez that season. Juan Gonzalez is somebody that I've always felt doesn't get the credit that he deserves in terms of his production. This guy who drove in 100 runs before the All-Star break one year. Let's go back and look at the box score for tonight's game because I don't think we've done it yet. And all of these recaps at this point blend together. All right, let's pull it up. So, you see IKF 1 for 2 with an RBI out of the leadoff spot. Led off the game with a hit. Also drew a walk. That's a rarity. Torres 1 for 4 extends that hitting streak. You see Stanton 0 for 4. Allen came in to play right field. Rizzo 0 for 4. LeMahieu 0 for 1. Walked 3 times for the second consecutive game. I think he's having good at-bats. Be interesting to see if he starts hitting. We need it. We need somebody to get hot. Bader 3 for 4 with a couple of RBIs. Volpe 1 for 2 with a ribby and a walk. Higashioka 0 for 3 and Peraza 0 for 3 with an RBI. So, I mean, that is not a beautiful box score, not a ton of hits, not a ton of offense, but at the end of the day, winning is all that matters. Winning and breathing. Twiggy says IKF is the heart and soul of the team. All right, guys. I see a lot of comments here in the chat. I want to get some of your favorite trade deals here. Dan Shifka says, LeMahieu smooth base running tonight. I'm surprised he can run at all at this point, honestly. I'm not seeing a whole lot of favorite trades in here. Dr. Hitskin says the Paul O'Neill trade, but that wasn't a trade deadline move. That was off-season. Trying to think back. Aaron Small ended up being awesome. Sean Chacon ended up being great 2005. Trying to think. Bobby Abreu was an all-timer. Ended up having a very nice, solid career with the Yankees. So there's been some good ones. There's also been some duds. Frankie Montas. Last year, pretty much everybody that the Yankees traded for ended up getting surgery. So, all right, guys, we're going to call it a night. Get your final comments in.
Game over. I gotta get out of here.
Roger Clemens, another one that was a preseason trade. So not a trade deadline deal. Todd Frazier, yes, from Toms River, New Jersey. I work with him almost every day now. Love Todd. He's the nicest guy.
Most impressive.
Goose. I don't know if Goose was trade deadline. That was before my time. All right, guys, have a wonderful day off. I'll be back at some point tomorrow night, probably around 9 o'clock with Scott Braun to talk Yankees trade deadline. And then Friday night, big series against the Orioles. And on trade deadline day, which is next Tuesday, I'm going to do a 7 o'clock show. I believe the Yankees play that night, but I will be doing a live show to talk about what went down. Got to work during the day. Foul Territory is doing a trade deadline special themselves, and then I will hop on when that's over with. Frankie will be cutting up highlights of any new players that we get during the day, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, have a great day off. I'll see you next time.
Ball game over.
Most impressive.